Hello and happy Friday, everyone. Welcome to the Self-Achievement Network. My name is Domenic, and I am the host. We are here in the Self-Achievement today on Friday Feature, and today my guest, her name is Asmaa Shakir, and she is sitting in her dorm room in Toronto, Canada. And she comes to us by way of Cairo, Egypt, by way of the Emirates. And she's going to tell us her story. Hello, Wala. How are you doing? Ahmed is here. Great to see you guys. I've got my guest today for my Friday feature. I just want to say hello to everybody out there. And thank you all for watching. So today is Friday feature, and I'm just going to hold the phone up here so that you can see, because I don't know how to do screen share with this software. It's Friday feature with Asmaa Shakir, and she is there in the background. Hello, Aisha. Good to see you, as usual. I've got Asmaa, as she's here in the background. I'm going to bring her up on the camera, and we are going to talk to her and get her story. It's an amazing story about how she has arrived in Toronto, Canada. So all the way from the Emirates as a child, and then over to Toronto. So she's going to school there, and I'll let her do the introductions. I don't know why this is can't bring you on camera. Oh boy, Facebook Live. Yes! Can't beat it. For whatever reason, we were just doing this in a separate group, and it was working perfectly, and for whatever reason right now, it's not. So anyway, Aisha is watching. Where are you from? You're from Chicago, right? Yes. The rest of you that are watching, where are you from? I am waving to you. Let me see if I can invite you on screen. Hello there, Ahmed. So if you're watching, tell us where you're from. What part of the world are you in right now? Iman is there. Hello, dear. Haven't seen you for a while. Glad to see you. Iman was one of our person behind the passions not too long ago, weren't you? I hope that you're doing well. We need to have you back so that you can give us an update. Wait, no, I haven't had you yet. That's right. You are one of our future person behind the passion. And there's Carmen. Hello, Carmen. So if you're watching, let us know where you're from, what part of the world you're in right now. I am doing my best to bring up my guest. Her name is Asmaa, and she is right now in Toronto. She has had this amazing journey from the Emirates. She started out there, and briefly, she is now in Toronto going to school studying Chinese medicine. It's a really incredible story. And when I saw what she was doing, I was like, I got to talk to this girl. So as soon as I can find her, I'll bring her back. Let me see if I can tag you again. There you go. I invite you. There we go. I invited you. The invitation was sent. Very good. There's Frank. Buddy, how's your back? Frank is our BMW dude from the East Coast, and he's a New Jersey guy. How you doing, Frank? Hope everything is going well with you. I'm doing better. Had my surgery, and finally, and still have a few problems, but anyway, everything else is good. We're waiting for my guest, Friday feature guest. Her name is Asmaa Shakir, and she is sitting in her dorm room in Toronto, waiting to be brought up on the screen. And don't know why she's not able to come up, but we're going to see if we can bring her on screen one more time. It says bring her on camera. And I'm adding her. And it's, boy, that's great. It's going to work. Just love it. There you are.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm great.
Good. I'm glad to hear that. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Asmaa Shakir. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you.
How are
Thank you for having me.
You're very welcome. Thanks for being on the show. And so, yeah, we were doing a little bit of whatever button dancing on the phone, and finally it's working.
That's good.
Not really
I'm glad
sure.
it's working.
So I gave people a little introduction and told people that we're
hmm
here in the Self-Achievement Network, and I'm here with you. And I told them about a little bit about the story. Did you see any of it?
No, actually,
You didn't see any of it. Okay, that's fine. But
no.
just in brief, so that you guys know. Uh, so this girl right here, she grew up in the Emirates, and then she was transferred. Her father was transferred to Cairo. She had a really interesting experience there in Cairo that she's going to tell us about. And now she is in Toronto, going to school to study Chinese medicine. Right?
hmm
So, anyway, so welcome to the show. It's Feature Friday feature. And so tell us, you're there right now in Toronto, right?
Yes, that's
Yeah.
correct.
And you arrived there when?
The 29th of April,
So it's
and
just
it
like brand
was,
new.
yeah, and it was also the first day of class, so that was kind of crazy.
So you had your long flights over, and then after you didn't probably sleep very much on the plane, you had your first
Yes,
class.
yes,
So it's been an adventure since you got on the plane, or probably before.
it was. It was. And when I arrived to class, I was a bit late. And my professor said, "Why are you late?" And I said, "Because I just arrived from Egypt." So he said, "That's a valid excuse."
So you got some slack, huh?
Yeah, he caught me
Oh,
some
that's
slack
great.
that day.
That's great. That's great.
Yeah.
So, this for us here in the network, this is sort of a new program that I'm getting going called
Mm-hmm.
Friday Feature. And where there's no
Mm-hmm.
real introduction earlier, and I mean we did a little bit of we had a little announcement.
Mm-hmm.
But this is supposed to be just a different show to feature different people that have done really amazing things that really have been not just an easy trip, have been a challenge. And
Mm-hmm.
when I saw your story and you told me a little bit about your story, I was like, wow, I would really like to have you on the show and tell you. So you
Thank you.
started out. Let's start with this. Once upon a time. I was born, and then what happened?
I was born in Emirates. I was born in Abu Dhabi, the capital,
Uh-huh.
to a really good family and who are also very religious, very traditional and very religious. I
Uh-huh.
was very sheltered. I had a very sheltered life. I went to some really good schools. I had some good education. And everything was very stable, very peaceful. Everything was easy and nice. And then we moved to Egypt when I was going to university. I was 16 at the time, and
Uh-huh.
it was a huge transformation, uh, cultural shock, adaptation, environmental shock, all kinds of
Mm-hmm.
things. It
Mm-hmm.
was, it was quite intense. Um, I used to take either the school bus sometimes, or my parents used to drive me, or sometimes there was a driver, things like that, to school.
Mm-hmm.
When I came to Cairo, I had to learn to use public transportation, take microbuses, take the metro, be used to noise, crowd, pollution, people, shuffling through life, people
Yeah,
hustling.
there's
And
20,
it
25
was,
million people in Cairo.
yes, yes.
So
And
it's
where
a
I was,
lot.
there was a couple of thousand, and everybody knew everyone.
Uh-huh.
And people were very similar in Emirates. In Cairo, people are very different. There are so many different cultures in one culture.
Hmm.
Um, in Cairo University, I went to Cairo University at first. People came from all backgrounds, different cities, different provinces, different villages, not only from Cairo. It was really intense for someone like me. I did not understand. So I spoke Arabic. I spoke Egyptian Arabic because that's what my parents speak. But the spoken Arabic that we had at home was very classical, black and white movie, no slang, completely no slang.
Uh-huh.
I did not understand Egyptian slang. I did not understand meanings behind words. I did not understand the culture. I could not read people, and I was very naive. I actually thought that if you are nice to everyone, then no one would ever want to hurt you. I had no idea.
It reminds me
So
kind of like going to New York. Sorry for saying I just threw New York under the bus a little bit, but it's okay.
it
It's a hustle and bustle city, but there's people are
is.
very sweet.
It is. It is. It's a big city. I guess that's how most big cities around the world are. So it was a big transformation. We used to live in a really big house in a very nice neighborhood in Emirates, and in Egypt we went to um, a place in Giza and in a very small house. Everything was different, and we're a big family. There's seven of us, so we were all
Wow.
cooped up in a small apartment, and it was completely different. Yeah.
I can only imagine. Yeah.
hmm
So small town, really? Was it a town or was it a small city?
Where I came from, so
Yeah.
I was born in Abu Dhabi, but then when I was 4 years old, we moved to Alain, which translates to oasis, the oasis. So it's
Uh-huh.
basically, they call it Alain City, but it's technically a tiny little town, like very tiny. And everybody knows everybody. It's surrounded by mountains and it has oases and a lot of greens, a lot of trees, a lot of
Hmm.
birds. It's just really peaceful and really beautiful and really quiet. Some may say boring, but for me it was great.
Hmm. Okay. And then big transformation to a gigantic city where everybody's honking horns and
And
trying to
yelling at each other, people with donkeys selling things, people hustling in the street,
they're
pickpockets. It
amazing.
was crazy.
It's,
I was
exactly.
like my first couple of years, actually, I would walk in the street like this. It was very overwhelming.
And it's overwhelming, and at the same time, it's just like, wow, did I really just see that?
Yes, yes. And everything was different. Like, for example, in university, in order to get good grades, you had to memorize whatever notes the professors made and sold, because apparently that's a way for them to make money. I was not
Uh-huh.
aware of that. I went and, like an idiot, I studied from the book, like how I was taught in Emirates, and I failed.
Uh-huh.
I
Oh,
failed. Yeah, I failed my first year of university. You don't
oh
study
my
from the
gosh.
book. You study from the professor's papers, notes.
Uh-huh. Wow.
Yep.
That is
Tips
really
and tricks.
amazing.
Yeah.
Well, this is called, I think in psychological terms, culture shock.
Big culture shock.
So you're used to being it's people saying hello and waving and you know
Smiling at you.
smiling at you and all this to this everybody's going a million miles an hour.
Yes. And competition. There was a lot of competition. There is, not was, there is a lot of competition in Cairo. And I
Uh-huh.
did not grow up in a competitive place. I grew up in a place where people really did not have the need to compete, you know?
Hmm.
They just did their own thing, and that was
Hmm.
okay.
Yeah,
Why
just a
compete?
yeah, just a completely different environment. And I think that there are, from my experience of being in Cairo, there's like, I mean, there's all that going on, and at the same time, when I would make friends and meet people, that that friendly atmosphere was in those little, what do we want to call them, microcosms or what have you. They were there and alive and well because I made so many friends, very welcoming. But in the big city, it was just like always like whoa, and just crossing the street was
Crossing
intense.
the street in Egypt is always an adventure. It's
It's
an
a death.
adventure.
It's a death sentence.
No, it's an adventure, and it's a
It's an
meeting with
adventure.
destiny every single time. Like,
Oh, that's great. So, okay, so you failed your first year of the university because you were studying out of the book, and that was obviously not the right method. So, what happened next?
well, I repeated the first year, and I passed it. And then I went on to the second year, and then I did not do so well. I entered a field that was not mine. I entered business, and basically I kept failing accounting and mathematics. I mean, you can't graduate from business unless you know accounting and mathematics. And eventually, after that, I transferred to a private university. It's called MSA University, Modern
Hmm.
Sciences and Arts. It's located in 6th of October.
Hmm.
And there we studied from the book and passed. They were partnered with a British university called Middlesex University.
Hmm.
So the system was what I was used to in back in Emirates because I went to British schools. So it was basically the same British system that I was used to. So I did quite well there. And I spent 3 years there and I graduated. So yeah, and the numbers of students were much smaller. There was more focus on the students. Uh, so things started to stabilize. I made a lot of friends. So I started getting used to the system, to the culture. Things were getting better.
Hmm.
So
Okay,
yeah,
now, so let me just go back because I might have missed it. So, what age were you when you actually moved from Emirates to Cairo?
16 and a half,
Okay,
turning
16 and
17. I
okay.
turned 17 in Cairo. Yeah.
So you finished your high school
hmm
and then you went to university. Tell us a little bit about your experience in the high school.
Well, it was very nice. The education was really good. Most of the kids got scholarships to go to universities in Australia and in Canada and in America and England. Um, we were 9 kids in the class. There was only 9 of us.
Wow.
Uh, yeah, yeah. There was 9 of us.
How can that
People
be?
were friendly. The environment was very diverse. So basically, there was me, one Egyptian girl, a Lebanese girl, 2 Emirati girls, a Filipino girl, a Palestinian, an American, a Korean. So we had people from everywhere, and the whole school was like that. Most of Emirates is like that. It's very intercultural, very multinational. It is truly a melting pot. If I'm gonna call a country a melting pot, it would be Emirates.
Hmm.
So I was
You mean
exposed
Cairo?
to a lot of no Emirates.
Oh, Emirates. This is the school. Okay, I'm sorry. This is the
This is
school that you
the
were at back home. Yes, gotcha.
melting pot of cultures country. That would be Emirates,
Hmm.
because in every school you could find people from all over the world and everyone got along. Um, So in school, you got exposed to multiple cultures, multiple religions, multiple perspectives, multiple ways of living and of being and of thinking.
Mm-hmm.
So there was a lot of acceptance going on because people would look at you and be like, ah, you're from a different country. That's okay. If you're doing something different from me, living a different life from me, that's okay. I mean, you come from a completely different country. But when I went to Egypt, it wasn't like that. There was I did not find this kind of acceptance, and I think it's because people are not exposed to all those cultures and ways of thinking and religions and ways of life, so they have no
Mm-hmm.
idea. So when
Yeah.
I went there, I felt like an alien because of my way of thinking and acceptance of everything, and corner where I had to choose a side, and I choose a side because there are no sides. We're all human in the end, and we're all challenging for me.
My
I
name
just